There is this really specific kind of hollow feeling that you get at the end of a big construction project. I'm sure you know the one I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah?
You've spent maybe 3, 4 years in the trenches. You've fought through the absolute grind of the bid. You've navigated all the pre-con logistics. You've solved, I don't know, 1,000 crises that threaten to derail the schedule every other week.
It's the marathon. Blood, sweat, concrete, and way, way too much coffee.
Exactly. You're building something massive. It's going to change the skyline for 50 years. And then it's just quiet. The project's done, ribbons cut, the team moves on. And what's left to prove that all that struggle, all that genius actually happened?
Usually.
Yeah.
It's a couple of glossy photos of an empty lobby,
Yeah.
maybe a drone shot of the roof, and, a LinkedIn post that just vanishes in 48 hours.
It's just brutal when you put it like that. It's almost like the building is there, but the building, the verb, the action, the human part, it just evaporates.
It's gone.
And that's the tension we're exploring today. We're doing a deep dive into the archives of the construction channel, and we're looking at a concept that, frankly, I think a lot of people in this industry just misunderstand. We're talking about real construction storytelling.
And look, before anyone rolls their eyes, we are not talking about marketing fluff here. This isn't about making some sizzle reel with generic rock music just to make the CEO feel good.
No, and that is a crucial distinction. The core argument from the source material is way more aggressive. It's this idea that documenting the process, the grit, the problem solving, is a strategic business asset. The premise is really simple. No story equals lost value.
It's about shifting the conversation from, well, video is a nice to have if there's budget left, to, no, this is an asset class that pays dividends.
So let's start with what we're actually losing. The construction channel calls this the cost of silence. When a project ends and we don't have a record of how it got there, what is actually vanishing? I mean, the building is still standing, right? The client paid the invoice.
Well, they talk about this idea of the gap. So think about a complex project, like a tight urban infill job with zero laydown area. The building, it stands for decades. But the intellectual property, the specific way your superintendent managed those insane logistics, or how the team resequenced the steel after a supply chain failure, that intelligence just leaves the site the moment the trailer is gone.
It's institutional amnesia.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
It is institutional amnesia. There's this massive disconnect between the internal reality and what people see on the outside.
Right.
Externally, clients just see a building. They think, okay, you poured concrete, you put up glass, done.
Yeah.
They don't see the value engineering. They don't see the crisis management.
And internally, the team knows they just performed a miracle. But because there's no record of that miracle, you can't leverage it. You can't even prove it happened.
Exactly. The source material points out three specific casualties of this silence. First, your future clients. If they only see the glossy photo, they don't see your risk management. They don't see how you handle pressure when the schedule gets tight.
Which is what they're actually hiring you for.
Precisely. The second is talent. Future recruits, they have no idea what the culture of your job site actually feels like. And third, the public. The public just drives by a job site for 2 years and sees dirt, noise, and traffic. They have zero concept of the orchestration going on.
So you're just the people who blocked a lane on Main Street.
Yeah, not the people who just engineered a modern marvel.
That brings us to the commercial side of this. And this is the part that really grabbed me. Because I think most GCs see video as just a marketing expense, something for the newsletter. But this deep dive argues it's actually a sales asset. So this is pillar one.
It's the difference between claiming you're good and, well, proving you're good.
Right. The phrase they use is evidence versus talking points. And I want to drill down on this because I have sat in those pitch meetings.
Okay, so think about a standard shortlist interview. You're pitching a $50 million job. You walk in, you fire up the PowerPoint, and what does every single contractor say? We're collaborative, we're safety-focused, we're innovative.
It's buzzword bingo. Everyone has the same slide deck with slightly different shades of blue.
Because words are cheap. But the landscape, with owners and selection committees, it's shifted. They're more sophisticated now. They don't just want to know what you built. They're terrified of risk. They want to know how you work when things go wrong.
So how does video change that dynamic in the room?
Okay, so imagine you're in that interview. Instead of a bullet point that says, we handle complex MEP coordination, you just hit play. And the committee sees a 60-second clip of your superintendent standing in the rain with the architect and the mechanical sub, looking at an iPad and resolving a clash in real time.
That is powerful. You can't fake that.
You can't. It turns a claim into a fact. It's demonstrable evidence. They see the trade partners explaining how coordination prevented rework. They see the PM calmly handling a material shortage. It turns the whole pitch into a proof of concept.
You're not just saying, trust us, we can do this.
No, you're saying, here's the tape. Watch us do it.
It's almost like game film in sports. You're showing your technique, not just the final score.
And for sophisticated owners, especially in like healthcare, data centers, advanced manufacturing, the complexity is off the charts. They are buying your technique. They are buying your process. If you hide the process, you are hiding your biggest differentiator.
Okay, so that handles the revenue side, winning the work. But I want to pivot to what is, arguably the bigger crisis in construction right now. It doesn't matter if you win the job if you don't have the people to build it.
The labor shortage.
Right. Pillar 2, the recruiting engine. We all know the stats. The workforce is aging out. But I found the perspective here really refreshing. The argument isn't just we need more bodies. It's that we have a branding problem with the next generation.
It is a huge branding problem. Young talent, Gen Z, especially, they have infinite options. They can go into tech, they can do gig work, and frankly, their exposure to modern construction is basically zero. They think it's all just manual labor and shouting.
I feel like the perception is still stuck in the 1970s,
Yeah.
digging ditches. They don't see the BIM, the VDC, the robotics, the project management.
Or even just the craftsmanship and the camaraderie. And here's the hard truth. Job ads don't work for this. You can't put sense of purpose on a spreadsheet and expect a 22-year-old to care.
So how do we use storytelling to fix that pipeline? What does the source recommend?
You have to build a library of career paths. And the construction channel suggests some very specific formats here. Don't give me a corporate video of the CEO talking about family values from an air-conditioned office. Give me a video of a second-year apprentice.
Someone they can actually see themselves in.
Exactly. Let the apprentice talk about their first year, the struggles, the sore back, but also the paycheck, the lack of student debt, and the pride of looking at a finished wall. Or, interview a field engineer explaining why they chose the job site over a cubicle.
It validates the career choice. It makes it real.
It makes it tangible. It says, this is a real path. This is what your life could look like. And the ROI on this stuff is long-term. This content lives forever. You play it at career fairs, you put it in trade schools, it's on your website working for you 24/7. It's a passive recruiting engine.
It creates role models. You can't be what you can't see.
And that flows perfectly into Pillar 3. Because once you hire them, you have to keep them. We have to talk about cultural momentum.
This was my favorite part of the research, the internal pride factor. We talk so much about external marketing, but what does documenting the job do for the person holding the wrench or the woman running the crane?
Well, just think about where these teams work. A lot of the time, they're outside the fence line. They're in the mud, the freezing cold, deep in the mechanical guts of a building where the public never goes. It is incredibly tough, often invisible work.
So when leadership sends a professional camera crew out there, not to film the building, but to film them, what's that signal?
The signal is validation. It says, what you're doing is difficult, it's important, and we value it enough to spend money capturing it. The source calls it the "that's us" factor.
That's us. I like that.
It's that moment when a longtime foreman can take a high-quality video link, show it to his wife and kids on his phone, and say, look, that's us. That's what I built.
That is huge for retention. You're giving them a digital trophy.
You are. And for the younger staff, seeing the veterans celebrated in these stories, it gives them something to aspire to. It humanizes the concrete and steel. Culture isn't built by slogans on an office wall. It's built by shared stories of overcoming challenges.
Okay, but I want to play devil's advocate for a second, because I can hear a listener, maybe a CFO or an ops manager thinking, okay, I get it. Video's good. But I'm not spending 50 grand on a production crew. I'll just hire a local wedding videographer or maybe a real estate drone guy. A camera's a camera.
Right. And that brings us to what the source calls the trap of the generic videographer. This is a critical point, and honestly, it's a safety issue.
How so? Why can't I just hire a guy who shoots nice commercials?
Because context is everything. Construction has its own language, its own rhythm, and most importantly, its own lethal hazards. A generic videographer is looking for what's pretty. They want the sunset shot, the silhouette.
Okay, and what's wrong with that?
What's wrong is that they might capture a guy working without proper PPE because it looked better. Or they film someone standing on the top rung of a ladder. Or, walking under a suspended load because they wanted the angle.
Oof, I see where this is going.
You take that slick, beautiful video and you show it to a client like a major healthcare system or a data center owner. people who live and die by safety metrics. They don't look at the lighting, they look at the safety violation.
And immediately you just look incompetent.
You look like a liability. You've just spent money to document your own lack of a safety culture. It totally alienates the very peers you're trying to impress.
This is where the construction channel really leans on their
Mm.
specific background, right?
Right. They mentioned Aaron Wright, who has over 20 years in BIM, VEC, and construction tech. The point isn't just about him. It's about the type of partner you need. You need a crew that understands site logistics.
Someone who knows when to get out of the way.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
They need to know what topping out means. They need to know the difference between a rough-in and a finish install. I mean, if you have a videographer asking a superintendent to stop and smile while he's directing a crane lift, you've lost the room. You've lost all respect from the field.
And authenticity is the metric. If it feels fake to the field, it's completely worthless to the office.
Precisely. It has to feel honest.
So, assuming we commit to this, we hire pros who know a hard hat from a hard drive. What are we actually making? What are the formats that work? Because we're not making a Netflix documentary here. We need business assets.
No, and you shouldn't try to make a movie. The source outlines a few power formats that actually drive business results.
Yeah.
The first is the Project Journey series.
Which is episodic, right?
Yeah. You follow the build from groundbreaking to handover. But the key is the detail. You showcase the gritty stuff, the MEP coordination, the massive concrete pours, the weather delays. You show the solutions.
So it's a narrative. We hit this problem, here's how we solved it.
Correct. Then you've got the day in the life. These are shorter, very human-centered. Maybe you follow a super starting at 5 a.m. leading the safety huddle. This builds immense trust with owners because they see exactly who is stewarding their money.
Puts a face to the monthly invoice.
Exactly. Then there's event coverage, but not just filming a guy at a podium. You want the energy of the safety summits, the barbecues. And finally, origin stories. Documenting the legacy of the founders. It gives clients a reason to choose you that's not just the low bid.
I want to circle back to one last objection, the DIY myth. Everyone's got an iPhone 15 Pro. You can buy a drone for $500. Why can't the marketing intern just run out to the site once a week? Or the project engineer.
The classic capacity trap. The scenario is always the same. Leadership decides to save money. They tap a project engineer and say, hey, you're now the video person on top of your 50-hour week.
I can already see the burnout.
It leads to what the source calls the SD card graveyard.
That sounds like a horror movie title.
It kind of is, for data. It's where good intentions go to die. You get terabytes of footage just stuck on hard drives in a drawer. Nobody has time to edit it. The audio's all wind because they didn't have the right mic.
And crucially, if your project engineer is editing video, they're not engineering the project.
That's the opportunity cost. The issue isn't talent. That intern might have a great eye. The issue is capacity. Professional documentation requires planning, safety clearances, post-production, the whole workflow. The solution is partnering. You build a building, let a media partner build the asset.
So for the listener who's sold on the value but is maybe a bit overwhelmed by the scope, how do they start? This sounds big.
The advice is reassuringly simple. Don't boil the ocean. You don't need to launch a 10-part series tomorrow. Start with a flagship project.
Just pick one.
Pick one job that represents where your company is going. Or pick one milestone event, or even just one single crew story. Get one win on the board.
Prove the concept internally.
Show the sales team. Show HR. Once they see the quality of the asset, once they see a recruit sign on because of a video or a client nod during a pitch because of that footage, they'll be the ones asking for more.
It really all comes back to that initial idea of asset management. We spend so much energy managing the physical assets, the trucks, the cranes, but we just neglect the intellectual and cultural assets.
And that's the tragedy. The stories of resilience, the problem solving, the camaraderie that's playing out on your job sites every single day. The real question is, are you going to let that value just walk out the gate and disappear?
That's the thought I want to leave everyone with. 10 years from now, we know the building will be there. That's concrete. But will the memory of how it was built exist? Will the genius of your team be preserved, or will it be forgotten?
If you don't hit record, it's gone.
Something to think about the next time you're walking a site. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you on the next one.
Stay safe out there.